convictions, but I just feel Bill will do a better job. This is his thing, you know.
Right.
So then I will bring him in and we work together, and I will walk through the house and tell him the extra places that he needs to bless and things like that. And what we usually end up doing is confiscating a lot of relics and things that people, I've confiscated garlic, beans, rice. This one family had so many things all through the house that they were just trying to, there was crosses and garlic and things in every nook and corner. It was just, they were so desperate to find help. And so I had to go and relinquish all of that, including this really creepy doll in the garage.
Oh,
I
Lord.
felt also had something on it. You know, one of those with the glass eyes and the perfect little brown hair. And yeah, there was just something. I'm like, if you guys aren't attached to this doll, I think this doll just needs to be chucked out because there's just something on it. So I'm kind of like the precursor for him going in and doing the big work.
Right. Well, you brought up a good point when, these evil spirits and demons or whatever, they just don't appear. Usually they're either on the land, or you've brought something in the house, or you've done something to invite it in. So once you can eliminate those problems, it makes it a lot easier to sort things out to try to get to the root of the problem to help them. But I know it's got to be frustrating sometimes to get people to cooperate with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if they come to me at this point, they're pretty desperate, and anything I say will go, because obviously what they've been doing has not been working. They're like, oh, well, we saged and incense. I'm like, we're beyond sage and incense at this point. This is like real stuff. And
yeah,
and it's been some horrible stuff, and the biggest thing is just to keep these people calm and get them back to a normal life, and
yeah.
A lot of habits have to be changed, whether there's alcoholism, drug use, sometimes there's underneath it too. All of that has to be cleared out to put them in a higher vibration so that they're doing more positive things, to attract more positive things.
So true, so true. Because, it's kind of, there is a lot of correlation between that and addictions, because you got to start with, you got to want to help yourself, because if you don't stop what you're doing and change your life, these evil entities or whatever, they're not going to go away. Or even if they do, and you go right back to doing what you're doing that brought them there, you're just starting right back over at ground zero again. And
exactly.
I know you've had to have people recall you back, and there must be you must have a cutoff point to be like, hey, how many times can I come back to your house? Because then they're like almost to the point where they're taking you for granted, and you're risking your life and health and everything when you go in to help these people. Right?
Absolutely. And I think also sometimes heavy drug use. I did a house that everyone was pretty much using. I could see it on them. They were skinny. And I'm like, okay, I have to address. They were convinced that there was just creatures and things. And I think the drugs were exacerbating what they were seeing and their visions and things. And it's a catch-22, because the drugs are exacerbating what they're seeing and they're more sensitive to it. But yet the entities are drawn to that, because usually whatever they're feeding off of the human addictions. Whatever they didn't get to do, they want to do it through the human.
It's a vicious circle of a cycle that needs to be broke. But they've got to be willing to want to stop it too. That's the thing,
Well, and that's the thing. It ended up almost being an intervention. I'm like, there are no ghosts here. You guys are all on drugs, and you need to stop.
Yeah.
And it was horrible, because I told them, I said, you need to value your life. You need to get a job. You need to get off the drugs. There are no ghosts here, and if there are, I've cleared them. But I genuinely feel that you guys are causing all of this. It's coming from the stem root, as you guys.
Yeah, I found. Yes, I was just going to say, I found in my travels that people are their own worst enemies. Really, I mean, just like you say, inadvertently bring things in and stuff, and then some of them take like what you do for granted. They think, oh, I can do this, and just call Valentina next week, and she'll come in and clear it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have other people to get to. I cannot keep repeating it. And I've told my clients, if I have to call you a second time or come over, I'm going to be pissed, because that means you didn't listen to what I said, and then you cannot expect anything to be different.
Well, Exactly. I mean, how many times can you risk your own life or well-being to help somebody repeatedly because they're not doing their part?
Yeah, then I've deduced that they don't really want the help or to want to help themselves, and maybe they need to downward spiral on their own time and not mine.
Right. And let me ask you this question, Valentina: Have you ever come across people that have attachments on them, and have you ever, like a spirit attachment? Have you ever come across that? And do you dislodge spirit attachments also from people?
Well, it was weird. I had a client back in LA. She told me how her mother didn't like the baby that she just had, and she goes, "I don't even let my mother. Like my mother will walk to the front of my doorstep, but she'll hand the baby over. She will not go into my house." And I go, "Can I see a picture of your mother?" And I looked at the picture, and literally, you couldn't see it in the picture, but I could somehow see through the picture.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was 4 dark entities standing behind her mother, sitting on a chair, and two each 2 on the side had their hand on her shoulder.
Yep, pretty much.
And I was like, "You're not."
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
go
much.
Ahead.
Like, this is my buddy. And I said, "You know what? You cannot see it in this picture, but your mother does not have 1, does not have 2, but has 4 dark entities, and they're pretty much almost holding her down, like they're a little team and a little unit." I said, "Which would make sense because your baby is so pure and full of light, and that's why your mother does not even want to enter the house to go in there." So I said, "The best thing we can do is keep your house safe and full of light, because that's your only sanctuary." I said, "And then my concern is for the baby, to make sure that, no harm comes to the baby. But I'm not sure what to do about your mother." I said, and I pretty much told her maybe you should just have a few visits with your mother. And then later I found out the mother was also abusing medication and drug, and I'm like, okay, therein lies that attraction.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where
the
client just came for a reading for herself, so it wasn't really, I'm not going to offer any extra, assistance beyond what she came for. If she wants later help, I can, not so much me, but I can call Bill or get somebody in there. But this is one of these things that just wait and see how it goes. If it gets worse, call me. We'll get some solution. But, I just let people know the options. Ignore the mother, move away. There's many options. An entire, exorcism is very extreme, but necessary sometimes. But it has to really escalate to something crazy to get to that point.
Right.
I actually, before I left LA, I had a woman, and it was another medium. She called me, and she goes, "You're not going to believe this, but I walked by this house, and I heard them screaming, and something told me to go up and knock on the door. And through the window, I could see this skinny, like 20-something-year-old girl. Her hair was matted. She was clearly, under the possession. She was possessed. And she goes, and I knocked on the door, and I tried to talk to them. The family refused to. They said she hasn't eaten in 30 days. I said, of course not. She's a demon. They're not going to eat. So I said, well, why are you calling me then? If you can't get them help, what am I supposed to do? You tried to knock on the door. They refused help.
Right.
She's like, well, I just want to know if you know anybody. I said, yeah, of course. I know one of the best deliverance ministers in the world. But
it's got to start with them.
You can't even... Yeah, so then I said, well, can I have the people's number? Well, then she didn't want to give me the number. I said, you just told me you don't want this 20-year-old to die, yet you don't even want to relinquish the number so that I can call. So it almost was like an ego thing. Like, no, if you can't save this girl, nobody can, so I'm not giving you the number. So I said, you're about ready. I said, when I hang up, you're probably going to kill a 20-year-old girl because you didn't want to give me the number, so that's on you. And then I hung up. And then that was it.
Wow. I was just going to say, one of the worst enemies of any psychic or psychic medium can be ego and pride and jealousy and all those things that evil will use for its benefit against people trying to help, and some people don't even realize what's going on. And at least you tried to open her eyes about it, So you did your part. I mean, what more could you do? I
there was a couple of days where I wondered, geez, I wish I didn't even know an address. I could drive by myself and look. I got nothing but just, because I was working solely with this medium, and she relayed this message to me. But I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it if you're not going to give me the rest? So it was just one of those frustrating moments where I'm like, man, she's like, well, I don't know. It sounds like the girl was locked away in her nails and she's clawed at everything. I go, that sounds like something out of a movie. She's clearly possessed. And you don't want to do anything that,
it almost
everything
makes,
you're describing, it was disgusting.
Yeah. It almost makes me wonder if the other psychic medium might have picked up an attachment or something that was keeping her from, telling you the information that you needed, Yeah,
why would you do that when that was the way? She said the girl's hair was matted. She hasn't eaten, and she's clawed at everything. There's like vomit and excrement all over the room. It doesn't, that entire scene itself, there's something wrong with that. Even if it isn't possession, this child should not be in these conditions.
Right. Call child services, police, or somebody. Call somebody. You need to get somebody in there. Even if it's nothing paranormal, you need to at least call some kind of official to take care of this child, Sheesh.
Yeah. So it's nothing more frustrating than being given all this, having the means to help, and then not being allowed to do what I could do. And so that was one of the more frustrating cases, because I believe it was a true possession, and to the full extent. And
that's why
I probably always wonder whatever happens.
And that's why I'm thinking that real evil was affecting the other lady to not give you all the information that you need. You know what I mean? Because why should you have to play Jeopardy to get the answers? Come on, for somebody needs help.
That should be a no-brainer. We can both work on it. But the fact that she's like, I was just taking a walk in the neighborhood, and something compelled me to go to this, to walk by this house, and then that's when she heard the screaming, and so even to go up to the doorstep. If you're being called to help and then you don't do your thing, that frustrates me. And so,
right, you're being compelled to a strange house with strange people, and you see some nefarious stuff going on, and you don't take the next step. Then you need to think, well, why aren't I taking the next step?
I can't. If I don't have the information or the phone number, I can't start scouring up and down every street in L.A. just to find this house. I had nothing. No name, no address, nothing.
Yeah, that's why I think the lady that came to you, she had to be affected by it or something that was holding her back, and she just didn't realize it was something. That's just bizarre, you know what I mean? Like, why would... you were compelled to go to the house. Why wouldn't you take the next step and give all the information to at least you,
Right. What do you get keeping it yourself? You clearly couldn't handle it yourself, so you call me in the first place, and then you just give me a dangling carrot, and then that's it.
Yeah, right. And then you had to play a little bit of Jeopardy just to get that. You didn't get that far. You had to play
I begged her. I go, well, if you change your mind and you feel like you want to give me the number of the house so I can call them myself and see what's going on, let me know. And then I never heard from her again.
Wow.
I said, okay, well, you just killed a 20-year-old, so you can live with that.
Jeepers creepers, I'll tell you. I got one more question for you. Let me ask you this. How do you feel on mirrors? What's your take on mirrors?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
We only got a few minutes. Give me what we got, 5 minutes? You got about 3 minutes, and then
I'll talk really fast.
Go ahead.
I'll talk really fast. Well, so all my TVs are covered with a blanket. People are like, oh, you don't have any TVs. I go, no, they're under the blanket, because I feel that I don't want any reflections captured of me in these reflective things, whether it's a mirror or a TV screen. And so they're always covered. The mirrors, on the other hand, my mirrors are left open. There's this one in the toilet, and then there's a long one. However, people love to send me photos of ghosts, whatever, orbs, things that they've captured. And I've gotten some really amazing stuff. So this one woman called me, and she's like, there are people in my mirror. And I said, okay, yeah, sure. And she goes, no, my daughter was sitting there, and suddenly a hand came through the mirror. I said, all right, well, you send me a picture, and I will see if I believe you. No, some of the times, you get very disappointed.
Yeah.
So I look, and then I started tuning into the photo. And sure enough, there was a bloody